Well, glad to have you back, Mr. Shettima. The thing is about asking, the question was between the prepaid meter, the billing system, and the estimated billing system. What do you think as the regulatory body that Nigerians truly want in this case?
Nigerians want to have meters, and most people prefer the prepaid meter. With meters, you can, monitor your consumption, and you can make efficient use of the product. Nigerians, we believe, have been responsive to this issue of metering, the complaints around metering by customers, and I will explain why. The primary responsibility of providing meters is that of the distribution companies, and because the distribution companies have been slow in providing the meters, and consumers were, very desirous of and eager of having the meters, we came up with the CAPME scheme, where consumers advance money, get the meters, and then they get refunded by the distribution company. So that's one initiative to address the issue. Secondly, when that initiative was not working well, when the discourse, there were complaints that people make payments and they don't get the meters, we came up with a clause in the tariff order that says the customer, the disco cannot bill the customer. Basically, the customer gets free electricity if he pays and he doesn't get his meter within 60 days. So it's actually automatic. It doesn't require in-depth monitoring. So once it's 60 days passes, you don't get billed. If you get billed, you will be refunded, and the disco will be punished, will be sanctioned severely. So that's two. Number three, the discos had an agreement, a 5-year agreement, to complete the metering. But because of these complaints from consumers, we decided to reduce it to 1 year in the recent tariff. We had a lot of problem with the distribution companies because they insisted the agreement is 5 years and all of that. But we told them even the agreements are subject to regulatory reviews, and we insist on 1 year. After 1 year, if you don't, then we'll come up with capping. You can't estimate more than a certain amount of the customers. So we've done a lot. There was even a committee set up with a civil rights activist. I'm not sure if it was Bamidele Aturu that headed that committee on metering. So a lot has been done to ensure that metering is fast-tracked by the distribution companies.
Well, how would you, definitely the reactions must have been telling in terms of how, some Nigerians reacted to that judgment. How did NERC feel about it? Or what does it feel about it?
At first, we were surprised because, for instance, you can't go to the market and insist that the market woman cannot charge the price that she needs to charge to be in business. So we were at first surprised why the judgment would ask for a reversal of the tariff. Secondly, so that made us, we were not sure until we see the certified true copy to know whether that is actually the case. But even what we read in the newspapers, there was a part where the judgment said the NERC is restrained from increasing tariffs except if it is done in line with the EPSR Act. So the judge itself is not saying don't increase tariff, but increase it in line with the Act. And we believe we increased it in line with the Act. All the processes required in the Act were followed. For instance, one other aspect again that I saw in the supposed judgment as presented in the newspapers is that we did not follow some of the provisions in Section 76 of the Act as regards consultation, gazetting, and all of that. But the Section 76 is talking about the tariff methodology, so not the tariff itself. The methodology that you follow in certain tariffs. That methodology and those processes were followed by the Commission as far back as 2008. The methodology was approved in 2008, and all the provisions in the Act on how you come up with the tariff methodology were followed in 2008. So we had the methodology. Now, tariffs will be set based on that methodology. And we have a set of rules, the regulations that the Commission set on how to prepare the tariffs using the methodology itself, which again were followed. So we need to make a distinction. Many people confuse the tariff methodology with the tariff itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was talking about the backlash. I mean, when you look at some of the reactions, I'm looking right now on our Twitter page, and they're thinking that, you know, that the NARC hasn't done what it ought to have done. They feel that consumers are still not being protected enough. They also think that monitoring in terms of this meter rollout to make sure that indeed, you know, this discos are able to meet up with the deadline is also followed. That there's very little monitoring going on right now as we speak.
You know, there is a lot of monitoring going on, but the issue that we, you know, miss is, it's like a chicken and egg thing. The discos insist on having the right tariff before they can raise the necessary finance from whether equity holders or banks or debt holders to procure the meters, procure transformers, upgrade the network, and all of those.
But they have had the right tariff. I mean, in
yeah, they just had it a couple of months back.
Yes, that was February.
So, yeah, that was February.
This is July.
Yes, this is July. So, but we have, as per the agreement, the discos keep pointing out is they have a 5-year agreement. This is July. This is 6 months or thereabouts. Mm-hmm. So it's too early, according to the discos. But the Commission, mindful of the interest of consumers, reduce that 5-year target to 1 year. And the discos have raised a lot of some valid points, mm-hmm. being the 1 year being too ambitious and too hard a target. But we are still sticking to our guns. If you don't meter, well, it's practically impossible to meter everyone within 1 year. But if you don't, you ought to have done it substantially. Mm-hmm. And then we'll come up with a scheme of possibly capping or some other scheme. We will consult widely within the industry to come up with a scheme that is fair to both customers and the distribution companies at the end of that 1 year.
If we're to take a look at the complaints that have also come from the House of Representatives, they're supposed to be representing the people. Mm-hmm. And there was some debate on, you know, what the electricity companies have been doing in recent times. I mean, if you listen to some of the complaints, they believe that the investors did not have the funds in the first instance to, you know, put in the sector, and that they were hoping that, you know, perhaps this was going to be